Okay, it looks like we are live. Let me make sure everything's working. Okay, everything looks like it's working. Okay, so, welcome to the second live stream for Project Gladiator. Today is April 26th, and I just posted the forecast for today. It looks like on the back end of that front that I've been talking about, there's an here is the front itself though. All through this here is kind of diminished though. There was a tornado threat on this a few minutes ago because there was a hook wrapping around the back side of this with strong damaging winds on the front of this line segment here with some very strong hail embedded with it. But then also, I was looking at this a few minutes ago and I said, hey, this looks interesting. These two systems, these two supercells in particular, look like they could be producing a little bit, could be trying to produce a little bit of tornado. You can see a strong hook on this one, a strong definite hook with inflow jet here, and a hook here, and inflow here. Yeah, and then I'm not sure what that is. This could also be another hook with inflow. But let's see what the velocities have to say. Okay, the velocities are saying tight. Okay, on this one especially, the southern one, tight rotation. Well, not very tight rotation, but it looks like strong rotation in particular. Our radar site's right there, so this is definitely rotation. Then it seems more tighter up here, right here, the rotation. So it looks like if any of these weird appendages sticking out from the south of the storm, it looks like this one looks like it's trying to produce. But then there's also this one right here. So currently we're sitting at 2 tornado warnings, and there was another one, but that has expired. But there is this other supercell here. It feels similar to the one that we were tracking a lot of the time yesterday, with the hook, the large hook with large reflectivity signature on the end of it, with a inflow notch here and strong RFD around the back. As for the velocities, it's showing some pretty strong rotation actually, some really strong rotation in here. Where is our radar site? Our radar site's right there. So this could be indicating some really strong rotation here, right here. As for correlation coefficient, there looks like there might be a little something here. You see, this could either be an inflow notch or a CC drop. It's probably more of an inflow notch. But this could be just strong inflow going into the storm. Other than rotation, it could be inflow, but if it's rotation, then I would assume it would have been surely tornado warned by now. Okay, so on the other storm that was north of the single hook one, the one that looks like has two appendages sticking out of it, both of them have rotation actually. Both of them have rotation. One of them is slightly stronger than the other, and one of them's tighter. This one's more broad, and this one looks to be more tight. I gotta change our thumbnail, actually. I used the wrong thumbnail. I may not be able to. Give me a moment. I may have to restart this stream. Nope, I can change it. I can change the thumbnail. Okay, that's the thumbnail I want. Okay. So, both of these storms, okay, this might be a bad situation. The tight rotation on the more eastern appendage is, it looks like it's passing to the north a little bit of a, looks like it's passing to the north a small bit on, just barely north of Meridian. There could be houses there could be some houses along these highways here that could be hit by this tight rotation. As for correlation coefficient, it's not very indicative that there's anything on the ground yet, though. And if we look at the rotation earlier on this system, it looks like the westernmost appendage was very strong and very tight earlier. It's not as strong or tight now. If we look at this one, if we look at the southern supercell here, it looks to be strengthening up a lot here, strengthening up in there, and really starting to have a very definite hook around the back end. Like this looks like, out of the two, in my opinion, in my untrained but also pretty educated opinion, I feel like this one in particular, the southern supercell, is going to be more likely to produce a tornado than this one. This one has two separate hooks, which could probably be disrupting each other, but this one has one single definite hook on the south end. And as for the rotation, okay, it's tightening up significantly now. It's getting pretty tight, pretty tight, pretty quickly. It's definitely gotten much better. Actually, I'm not sure, because it looks like it has a seizure when I try to replay it. But it looks like the rotation is tightening up some more and becoming more intense here. And as for correlation coefficient, there's not really much yet, though. There's not really much of anything on correlation coefficient, but you can still see the inflow notch and hook on the correlation coefficient. So nothing is saying that it's on the ground yet, but in my opinion, I feel like this one's going to be most likely to produce than the northern one, and I'll probably keep my focus on this one, on this supercell in particular. In fact, this supercell in particular looks like it's heading right for the northern part of Valley Mills and Rock Springs, and into this really populated area here, and it looks like it's going to hit the northern side of it. So if this touches down, then this could be a really bad situation if it continues to tighten and shows a correlation coefficient drop, which it might. It looks like it's really trying. But if this continues the path that it is, the path this direction, um, the path that they're saying, which seems to be this direction. If we look at this, okay, actually, how fast is the wind going? That's how we can figure out. 25 miles per hour. Going this direction. 25 miles per hour. Calculate. Moishium in 6 minutes and Valley Springs in 25 minutes. So, it's a pretty densely populated area. If you're watching and you live in Valley Spring or Valley Mills and Rock Springs, then I suggest you tune into the National Weather Service and maybe start working your way towards activating your tornado safety plan and getting into the safest room in your house to protect against a tornado, like the innermost room in your house, such as a closet or bathroom, because this is moving straight towards a very populated area. That it could potentially be a very dangerous situation here in a few minutes. Because that the hook, yeah, it looks very definite. On the northern system, on the most northern supercell here, it looks like one of the hooks has become more dominant than the other. It looks like this most eastern one, and this is heading directly into a populated area. As for the velocities, there's some pretty tight rotation on this one. Very strong rotation, and then also a little bit of rotation on the back end too, behind it, on the small appendage that's just a little bit behind it. Or this could also be both. It could, the tighter rotation, I'm assuming, is associated with this hook in particular. This is moving into a populated area. You can see the inflow notch here. But as for the velocities, um, it, it it's not looking like a good situation. This is in a populated area. This very defined hook on this supercell with increased reflectivity. If you are watching and you live in Meridian, I suggest again the same thing for Valley Mills and Rock Springs, is that you start activating your tornado safety plan, because this is right on top of Meridian at this moment, pretty much at least. Um, this is a very not good situation. But this really looks like a not good situation at all. I'm going to continue to cover both of these systems, especially for Meridian. If it looks like it's passing through, it looks like it's going to go south, more southeastern, and probably start targeting Cedar Shores and maybe the northern part of Lakewood Harbor. Um, it's pretty much, it's right on top of Meridian right now. Let's see what Brad's Arnold. Okay, that is loud. Um, yeah, the rotation is really right, tightening up and wrapping up through here in this area. It's getting really tight. This is it looks it's been increasing in intensity on velocity and the hook, and maybe even this right here. This could be a CC drop, but it could also be inflow. I'm not entirely sure. Um, it could be a CC drop. There could be a tornado on the ground associated with this. Radar indicated rotation. It's not saying that it's been confirmed from storm spotters, but it looks okay with the new radar update though. It looks like it's going to become a cell merger, and this is going to merge with this supercell. Um, but then this is also disrupting the. It looks like it's also disrupting this cell right here. It looks like it's also disrupting this hook a little bit, and potentially maybe causing it to slow down or stop. But by the time it merges, it's just going to add more mass to the supercell and potentially cause it to be more likely to produce. But the rotation, as for the rotation, it doesn't look like it's slowing down at all really. There's still really strong rotation, not really strong, but tightening rotation. Active. It looks like it's actively tightening. As for the supercell that I've been looking at, the for the sorry. Okay, for the past, not the past, but a few minutes ago, this supercell, it looks like the hook that I was seeing kind of diminished, or it could be starting to try to point out this way, but overall it looks like it's starting to diminish. But this could be rotation right here still. But it could also just be strong inflow. I'm not really sure. Let's look at some of these other systems that are over here. Okay, most of these supercells that are over here look like they're just isolated hail threat down through here. It looks like it's mostly an isolated hail threat, but it looks like where the bigger tornado threat, where the tornado producing supercells are probably going to be this one, and this one. These three in particular are probably going to have the most potential to produce a tornado. But then also, again, the frontal boundary. Oh, that's weird. The frontal boundary that we have been seeing, or was in front of all this, is right here, and there was a tornado warning earlier through here. It was a like a bow segment, like we were seeing yesterday with the storm yesterday, with inflow here. And that led to a tornado warning over here, but that has diminished. But our main threat, again, is going to be most likely over here. This one still has a tornado warning on it. As for the rotation, it still looks like it's still pretty tight up through there. Um, but this one, it looks like it could be trying to strengthen. Uh, it's so squashed because of how far away from the radar site it is. But to me, it kind of looks like it's trying to increase. All right. Wait, we're still looking at potential tornado threat for here. This looks like it's not going to, it's not adding to the hook, it's continuing to move north into the storm to merge with this supercell in particular. And this one, it still has a pretty definite hook with an inflow notch. It looks like it's maybe straightening out into a straighter line. It's definitely not as much as a hook as it was earlier. Um, but yeah, I mean there's still rotation on this. It doesn't look as intense as it was like one or two radar frames earlier. But this cell continues to move north into this one, and this one may be trying to, hold on, let me get it more centered. This one may be trying to produce, maybe trying to wrap up another hook on the end of that storm. Yeah, because you can see how on the radar thing it was slightly more pointed out. It may be trying to wrap it up into a hook and then potentially give us another tornado warning. But there is, hold on, where's our radar site actually? Our radar site's right there. It looks like there's rotation on here. This was likely just inflow um, into the inflow notch. There looks to be developing rotation. That's for correlation coefficient. Oh wow, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. It looks like it maybe just be contamination from the hail. it's more than likely not a tornado related correlation coefficient drop, because this looks like the tip of the hook. As for the correlation coefficient for the storm over here, the two storms over here, this one still has rotation on it. It could still potentially produce a tornado. With that supercell, and the hook might the hook is continuing to develop. If it continues, it might be it probably going to, if it continues like the way it is, it might produce a heavily rain wrapped tornado, because of the high reflectivity through the hook. And maybe this could be a correlation coefficient drop right here, but it's so high it could also not be. I'm not really sure what this is, because it's along the hail core. It could just be a contamination from the hail, which it kind of looks like it is. But there's so much going on here. I having a hard time telling. Like, this could be rotation, and this overall could be very broad rotation, but it looks like this might be the rotation we're looking at, because of how it's starting to stick out towards each other. This could be the rotation that we're looking at here that could be developing. But because, again, because of the low correlation coefficiency along the hail core, it's probably just hail contamination, and it's probably not tornado related drop. And as for the velocity on this storm, you can still see pretty strong rotation. It looks like it maybe gotten tighter since a few frames back, but the hook, it still has a pretty definite hook, but it doesn't look as prominent as it was a few frames back. As for the supercell up north near Stephensville, what direction is it heading? It's heading southward. I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't want to risk possibly getting copyright struck by this. So by clicking their streams, which I want to click their streams to see what they're streaming, but because they're right on this thing, I really want to see if I could potentially be copyright struck, and I don't want to risk that. But yeah. Okay, so as for the three supercells here, this all of these could be potentially developing tornado threat, and this could be developing into tornado warning if it continues the way it is. There seems to be maybe intensifying rotation on this thing as it moves east, southeastward. This is through right here. This looks like our rotation for the supercell on the hook here. Good. I mean, oh, that's not good. This this potentially developing tornado here could be moving this direction into a populated area here. Um, there could also be suburbs in this area here that it's passing through, and it could also hit the northern part of Dublin here, which would not be very good. But this is getting very close to Dublin and any suburbs that might be in there, and it looks like the rotation is starting to intensify a lot now. Well, actually, now with the new radar update, it looks slightly less, but still pretty tight up in there, especially in this area here. But you can still see what looks like it trying to form a hook. There's definitely rotation on that system, but also here there's still rotation up in here. That cell merger it seemed like it also merged with whatever this cell was down here and created this kind of weird thing with inflow here and inflow here, allowing it to rotate up in here. This is where the tornado threat is on that supercell. If we check the velocity, there still is rotation on this, and it could potentially continue to try and develop a tornado. As for the southern supercell, you can still see what could be it still trying to produce a tornado. Where is our radar site? Our radar site is here. This could be rotation. I'm not sure what this is. This could be developing rotation right here. But yeah, both of these supercells could possibly continue to try and produce a tornado. But yeah, the rotation on this one though, it kind of looks like it's starting to decrease in intensity though. But it could continue to try to produce a tornado. As for this one, it looks like the hook is starting to straighten out now, and if you saw the rotation on the on what am I trying to say here, on the velocities, it looks like it was not as prominent as it was earlier, but you can still see here where it's rotating through here, and the hook is straightening out. So it's pretty good that the hook is starting to straighten out right before Valley Mills and Rock Springs. Hold on, testing, testing. Okay, we're good. Okay, it looks like it could be trying on the southern supercell. Could be trying to start hooking back up again on the very edge of it. If we look at the the uh, the few frames before, it actually doesn't look like that really. It kind of looks like it's continuing to straighten out and possibly lose its tornado potential. But if this hooks back up here and starts rotating again, then it could bring a it could hit a heavily populated area of Waco here. If this continues the direction it is, this is a heavily populated area. If we look at the supercell that's up here, I okay. Um, there's still it look. Where's our radar site? It still looks like there is some rotation on this, but it looks like it's not as it looks like it's not as intense as it was earlier, and it looks like it's moving out of the radar, or not radar, but warning zone here. So I think the tornado warning might soon expire, because it seems like the inflow notch on the back end is starting to diminish, and it seems like if we look at the frames before, looks like the inflow notch is starting on the front end, is also starting to not uh, do very much. It looks like it's starting to also diminish a little bit. This cell merger could cause it to, it looks like it's disrupting a lot of the rotation that's in there, because it's merging like pretty much with the hook, but that's only going to add mass to the supercell, and it could potentially begin to rotate later and bring its tornado potential back. But I have a feeling that this tornado warning is about to expire and no longer continue. This tornado warning was observed. Tornado potential was observed. I may be able to find it. I may be able to find a picture of it, and I could post that in the Project Gladiator Discord server. Um, where is this? Where is this located? This is located in Valley Mills Supercell. Okay, I may have been muted this entire time. That's amazing. Yeah, I was. Okay, that is amazing. Thank you for tuning in, Luigi dude. But as I've been trying to say this the past few minutes, it looks like there is a developing the hook here. How it was more straight is now hooking back up. It's beginning to rotate. It's pretty tight rotation up in here, pretty strong rotation too, with this developing tornado threat. Uh, it's definitely no longer straight, and it's hooking back up through here with a strong inflow jet and strong RFD around the back, and very large hail in this hail core is also expected. And this developing tornado threat is moving into largely populated areas here, moving northeast. Into very largely populated areas. This could be a very dangerous situation here in a little bit. And then also, this supercell in particular, it looks like it could be trying to develop a little bit of a tornado threat. But as for the rotation on this cell, there is still rotation. There's still rotation on it. It just I think it's still developing, but our main threat is this supercell in particular down here. Developing hook that was straight and is now hooking back up again, and pretty strong rotation. Base velocity looks pretty strong as well too, and storm relative velocity, that is extremely low quality. But as for correlation coefficient, there's still no correlation coefficient drop yet, but I will continue to track that to see if there is a drop that indicates a tornado on the ground, but right now it hasn't yet. Okay, the tornado, or the warning is still radar indicated. It's a very definite hook here. And that's moving into populated areas. So this is a very dangerous situation beginning to unfold. If it continues the way it is, if it continues to develop like this, it's gonna this is a dangerous situation starting to develop. I'm gonna see if I can find whoever's live stream that is without clicking on it on stream and potentially risking a copyright strike. I kind of want to see what's happening. Yeah, these are suburbs here. This is a very developing a tornado moving into very populated areas. This is okay. As for the rotation, it's tightening up significantly and becoming very strong as for a correlation coefficient. There could be a little bit of a drop right here. It could be indicating that there is a tornado on the ground if possible. This is a If there is a tornado on the ground, this is a very dangerous situation really unfolding here. If you live in China Springs, if you live in Aerith, Rock Creek, Patrick, or Golson, please activate your tornado safety plan and move into the most interior room of your house, or a basement if you have one. Stay away from windows and tune into the National Weather Service if you have a handheld radio, so you can know what's happening outside. This is a very dangerous situation beginning to unfold, and you do not want to be caught outside of this. If you live in any of these areas, get inside and get somewhere safe, because this is a very dangerous situation unfolding here. A correlation coefficient drop here, possibly. There could possibly be a tornado on the ground. Very tight rotation in here. I mean, we've pretty much just checked off every single box here, plus the really prominent hook here with very strong inflow, and potentially maybe even a V-notch developing on the back side of the supercell, which could be indicative of a very strong updraft in this hook, and it could be indicating that there is a tornado on the ground as this moves into very populated areas, which is not good at all. This is a very bad situation unfolding as this tornado really moves into populated areas. It's very prominent hook, very strong inflow and strong RFT around the back. Tornado is likely to be up in here somewhere in this protruding part of the hook, specifically somewhere probably in there, moving northeast at how fast? It's moving at 20 miles per hour. We can see the calculated time that it could take to get to specific areas if we use this 20 miles per hour. China Springs, 14 minutes. Rock Creek, 25 minutes. Golson, 32 minutes. Roger Hill, 40 minutes. Elmont, 49 minutes. Wiggins, 49 minutes. Ross, 51 minutes. This population of almost 3,000 calculated in this area. This is a very dangerous situation unfolding as this developing tornado moves into a heavily populated area. Again, make sure you. This is a good time to activate your tornado safety plan if you live in any of these areas. This could definitely be a developing tornado again. Possible V-notch developing here, indicative of strong rotation, or not rotation but updraft, which is also associated with strong rotation. But also a very prominent hook, and very strong inflow with a very strong RFD around the back. As for velocity,
I didn't get that. Could you try
Siri.
again?
Thanks, Siri. Um, no, I don't want you to turn back on. Very tight rotation in here. Very, very tight rotation. This is not a good situation at all. Increasing reflectivity, and it just seems to be increasing in pretty much everything here. This is a very, 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 this is a very bad situation here. Very, very bad. And again, like right now, in this heavily populated area, strong hail core, very, very large hail is possible with this hail core in particular here, moving through all this area, followed by a developing tornado. There could be a tornado on the ground, as we saw the possible CC drop in this area here, possibly right here. Um, it's this is a bad situation. Large hail followed by a possible tornado on the back end, moving northeast at 20 miles per hour. How much time until it hits these populated areas, I will leave that up if anyone from this area is tuning in. 20 miles per hour, and you can see the time right here. See the time for when it's expected to hit from this area, going 20 miles per hour. Yeah, this is a very bad situation unfolding here. Aerith, okay, I may be able to. I'm gonna see if I can find a live cam from Aerith. Or maybe even a tornado, the tornado chaser that's right up in there. There are so many people live right now covering this. So many different people. Ryan Hall, y'all, Texas Storm Chasing, Reed Timmer, Storm Chaser Brad Arnold, and Storm Chaser Vince Welty. I'm still unsure of how you pronounce that. And Evan Freiberger. It's Storm Chaser Brandon Kopik. There's everyone is covering this right now. This is yeah, this is a dangerous situation unfolding. China Springs, 12 minutes. China Springs, 11 minutes. Okay. It's just, yeah. Again, if anyone is tuning in from any of these areas, China Springs, Rock Creek, Roger Hill, Elmont, Wiggins, or Ross, or anywhere in between, or in this area affected by this tornado warning, activate your tornado emergency, tornado safety plan, tornado emergency plan, whatever you want to call it. Get into the most interior room of your house or into a basement. Get away from windows, and if you have a handheld portable radio with you, tune into the National Weather Service so you know what's going on outside, because this is a heavily populated area here that this developing tornado is moving into. It could be a tornado on the ground. If we look at the velocities, you can still see a pretty tight rotation right there, pretty strong, pretty tight. And then correlation coefficient, there could still be a CC drop right here. Yeah, there could be a tornado on the ground associated with this supercell. this you can see the hook still here, the inflow still here, and the RFD around the back, and then the possible V notch that's developing here, indicative of strong updrafts. This is a very bad situation unfolding. China Springs 10 minutes. Or Irith. Irith seems to be more in the path than China Springs, but it's not giving it to me. I don't have I do not have Irith on here. It's likely to pass to the south of China Springs. It may not hit a lot of China Springs. It's probably going to pass to the south. Yeah. Okay, that's amazing. If I was muted again, I don't know why it keeps going on mute, but this is a terrible situation for Wako. Very, very terrible situation. You can still see it seems like it's tightened back up again. Very strong rotation, very, very tight rotation. They've shifted the warning from what was going northeast to now southeast, and then even shifted it again because it's moving directly through densely populated areas of Waco. This is very densely populated, very dangerous situation if you live in Waco. As for a correlation coefficient, still no correlation coefficient drop yet. As for rotation, still very, very, very strong, tight rotation. If you live in Waco, very densely populated area, move into the lowest interior room of your house, like a closet or a bathroom. If you have a basement, go to that. If you have a storm cellar, go to the storm cellar. If you have a handheld radio, take it with you so you can tune into the National Weather Service and potentially get updates on this system as it moves through the center of Waco. This is a terrible situation developing. I'm unsure why it still says 25. I need to fix that actually. I don't know why it started the stream on the old live stream. Live stream from yesterday. I don't know how that's gonna affect the recording from yesterday. It might just add on to it. I was wanting a new live stream, but it's whatever. Still very, very. This is a terrible situation. Still, very terrible situation for Waco. I'll continue to track it as it moves through densely populated areas. I don't know if I'll be able to find any recordings just yet of it. Let's see if anything has changed. It looks like he's facing away, but you can still see it is still in the hook. Still looks like it is becoming more and more of a hook with a giant ball at the very end. That's where your tornado is going to be. Very, very tight rotation. Very strong, very tight rotation in here. Very strong, very tight, very intense. And as for correlation coefficient, still not really much of anything unless you want to consider this potentially a correlation coefficient drop. But I doubt it. I doubt it's a correlation coefficient drop. I doubt there's any correlation coefficient drop yet. But it's very tight rotation. It's tightening up. It's just tightening up more and more. And the hook again, it's still tightening up. This is a very, very bad situation for Waco. Hold on. If I mute my physical microphone, it may mute it on OBS. No, it doesn't do that. Okay, then I'm confused. Is it just doing that for fun? I might know what it is. I think I have a button hotkey to mute. I need to fix that. Yeah, okay, no more mute button just in case, because it's causing too many issues. And people really need to hear me if they live in Waco and are having to, this is terrible situation, very terrible situation, very, very strong rotation, a very, very tight rotation, especially it's like in densely populated areas, very dense, very tight, very strong rotation in very dense parts of Waco. This is terrible situation, a terrible isolated tornado situation happening here. And then as for the hail core that's associated with this, large hail is still expected with this. Large hail, potentially bigger than an inch, maybe 2 inches. Let's see if they have a estimated size for hail. Not, I don't think they do. Yeah, they don't. Uh, this, okay, you can still see the hook. It's just becoming more and more of hook with every new radar update, and it seems like the RFD is maybe starting to become blocked off, and it may start to be reabsorbed with the storm. But by now, it's getting just really close. It's getting really. It is a terrible situation. It's honestly a terrible situation. Still tight, very strong, very tight rotation in there. If we look at Brad Arnold's stream, okay, now it doesn't want to load anymore. But it looked like there was possibly a wall cloud there. He's on the move again. Going south. Okay, you may be able to see it if you look to the right. It doesn't really look like you can see much, but this is a terrible situation for Waco. Very, very definite hook, strong inflow, and very strong RFD around the back that could be potentially starting to be blocked off by this and become reabsorbed with the storm and lessen its tornado potential, but still tight rotation right there. And as for correlation coefficient, maybe a small correlation coefficient drop right there, but I doubt it a little bit. There is another tornado warning for Gold's weight. Is there any radar that could potentially be better to view that? No, they all seem pretty far away. It's pretty hard to view it. Yeah, you can barely even see a hook at all. I mean, this is the only one that you can really see a hook on with inflow, but because of how far away from the radar side it is, even if there is no hook, you don't really want to take many chances with this. But then also very strong, rotation, very tight rotation on this system of storms, on this system, and if it's okay, it looks like it could move through populated areas of northern Goldswaith along 84, and maybe even impact the northern part of Goldswaith. This could also be another very bad tornado event unfolding. But again, this is this is not really good at all for both areas, because both seem to be moving into populated areas. It's starting to move out of Waco, but maybe if this is populated too, it just seems like it's probably, no, it's still populated. Still populated areas. This is continuing to move eastward, southeastward towards Hallsburg now. Populated areas through here. Continuing southeast. It just went through what would be a terrible situation, but it's still very tight rotation up in here. Still very tight rotation up in here. As for the correlation coefficient, I don't really see much of a correlation coefficient drop yet. There could not really be one yet. There could also be one. I can't really see it. But it seems like because of this, it seems like the RFD is becoming. It seems like the inflow in RFD is becoming blocked by this, causing the hook to become a little bit more absorbed into the storm, and may potentially cause it to slow down. But as for now, still tight rotation up through there. And if we look at the other tornado warned storm back over here near Goldswaith, it's continuing to move into potentially populated areas here. Strong rotation, very strong rotation near Goldswaith. It could also be much weaker than this, but because of how far away it is, they can't really take many chances. But because of how far away, it could also be much weaker. But it seems like it seems like it could. It seems like this is the hook here. This right here. This is the hook. At least that's what it seems like. And plus, very large hail. Very large hail in this hail course expected. And then this hook going directly into Goldswaith. Directly into Goldswaith. Both of these are very terrible situations, and I don't know which one I can't look at both of them, so I'm gonna have to switch between the two, which sucks. But it's both of these are very terrible situations unfolding. I mean that. I mean, this could potentially get slowed down here with reflectivity blocking off the RFD. Yeah, you can see it. You can see it blocking it off even more, becoming more intense and causing the hook to become more absorbed and causing the inflow to really die out through here. It's really falling apart here. The rotation's still pretty tight, still pretty strong, but it also doesn't seem as intense as it was earlier, probably because of that. But it's continuing to move through. It's continuing to move into another populated area of Hallsberg, directly towards Hallsberg. But again, Goldswaith. As for Goldswaith, there's a it's moving through Goldswaith right now. If you lives in Goldswaith, activate your tornado safety plan. Move into the interior, the lower interior, most interior room of your house. Get away from any exits or windows to your house. And if you have a handheld radio, bring it with you wherever you're going to stay safe. Because this is a very, so you can tune into the National Weather Service for updates. But yeah, this is yeah, yeah, if you have a basement, go to the basement. If you have a storm cellar, move into the storm cellar, and go anywhere. Go on the lower floor. If you don't have any of those, go on the lowest floor, the most interior room of your house, such as a closet or a bathroom, and stay away from any windows or any windows or exits to your house, as they could be blown open by the tornado and cause severe damage to you, especially if it's flying glass, flying debris. You do not want to be caught out in the open with this thing. This is a very dangerous situation unfolding for both Waco, or now Hallsberg, and now Goldswaith. So if you live in any of these locations, do what I just told you, because this is a very dangerous situation. And then plus, after that passes through Goldswaith, there's a potential for large amounts of hail, very large hail, and large amounts of it too, to move directly through. It's already moving through very populated areas. Well, it doesn't seem as populated, but still pretty populated areas. Compared to Goldswaith, you can still see it continuing. I didn't check correlation coefficient actually, because there may be a little bit of a correlation coefficient drop associated with this system. This is a very bad situation unfolding for Goldswaith and Hallsberg, as these are moving through very populated areas. If we look back at this storm here, it definitely looks like the storm, the hook is becoming more absorbed with the storm because the RFD is being blocked off. But then also, it's being blocked off by this precipitation. But then also, the inflow jet it's becoming less severe throughout there, and less intense, and the hook is becoming no longer more of hook and just more of a stub with a little notch on the end. So it looks like it's starting to decrease. The rotation is also starting to decrease, but there's still some pretty strong and possibly really tight rotation up in there, through going through Hallsberg at this moment. If you live in Hallsburg, activate your tornado safety plan. Move into the most interior room of your house on the lowest floor into a bathroom or a closet. Stay away from windows or any access to your house, as they could be blown open by the tornado, and you could be hit with debris. If you have a basement, go into the basement. If you have a storm cellar, go into the storm cellar. And if you have a handheld radio, bring it with you. If you don't have a handheld radio, if you live in a tornado-prone area, you should definitely buy one for situations just like this. It could. Don't say that it's not going to happen to you, because it definitely could one day, as we're seeing right now through Waco and Goldswade. You should definitely buy a portable weather radio so you can tune into the National Weather Service for any updates. Never say that's never going to happen to you, because it definitely could, as we're seeing it now, live right here. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me, right? Whoever that one person is, please let me know if this stream's working fine. Okay, again, okay, I'm having lag with Radar Omega. Large hail moving through these populated areas associated with the supercell, tornadic supercell. It does look like it's decreasing, but you can still see a very prominent hook here. It looks to be it looks to be kind of extending back out a little bit. There's still rotation associated with it right here. It is pretty tight and still pretty strong. If we look at if we go back to focus on Goldswade, we can see that I'm actually not too sure what's happening in Goldswade anymore. I don't know what I'm looking at here. There's rotation right here, rotation here, and possibly rotation here too. Actually, no, because that would make it anticyclonic, I think. So there's probably not rotation right here, but there is rotation right here. Rotation right here. Rotation on the hook right here. Strong, tight rotation. Very indicative of a possible tornado. And then as for correlation coefficient, could be a CC drop right there. Definitely could be a CC drop. As for reflectivity, I don't know where the hook is. I cannot see it at all. I'm going to check in with my friends over at the Max Velocity Discord server, see what they think of the possible CC drop, see if they can maybe confirm it a little bit, but I'm not sure. get out of CC. So we still have 2 tornado warnings in effect. We have this one for this one affecting East Central Mills County of Central Texas, which maybe this one, it may be this system in particular. Let's actually check back up on this one, because it still looks like a pretty prominent hook moving through here, but the RFD looks like it is being blocked off here. But the inflow jet is still looks like it's pretty prominent. It still looks like it has a pretty prominent hook, but it's probably causing it. Okay, maybe I stand corrected. Very, very tight rotation. Very, very tight rotation. Very, very strong rotation. The tightest rotation that we've seen so far with any of these systems, and on this cell in particular, the very tight rotation associated with this supercell in particular. Very, very bad situation. If we look at the correlation coefficient, let's see what the correlation coefficient has to say. I'm not seeing much of anything. I'm not sure what this is. That may be something, but most likely not. As for where the tornado would most likely be, somewhere in here, there's not really much of a correlation coefficient drop, but still very, very, very tight rotation. Very tight rotation in here. A very bad situation for Hallsberg. Again, if you live in Hallsberg, it looks like it's also continuing to move. It looks like it's continuing to move east, continuing to move southeast through Hallsberg into Lake Creek, and maybe even get into Blackland, and maybe hit some northern suburbs of Rizzo, and maybe the southern part of Mart here. If you live in any of this area, activate your tornado safety plan. This is a increasing threat, actively increasing threat. Very, very, very tight rotation associated with this storm. It's very, very tight. I was almost blown away when I first clicked on the velocity, because I was expecting it to be slowing down, but it's tightening back up again. This very bad situation for if you live in this area here, tornado going this way. If you live in any of this area, I suggest activating your tornado safety plan. Move into the lowest floor of your house, and the most interior room, away from windows and any access to your house, as they could be blown in by the tornado. And if you have a basement, go into the basement. If you have a storm cellar, go into the storm cellar. If you have a handheld radio, please take it with you so you can tune into the National Weather Service for any updates on this situation. This is a very, very bad situation unfolding here. Very tight rotation, very strong rotation. I don't know what just happened here. Where is our radar site? Our radar site's right there. You can still see, it looks like it just jumped over here. There's still a very strong rotation along here. South edge of Mart. Okay. Very, very, very bad situation for this area in particular. I suggest activating your tornado safety plan, and never say that it never happened. It's not going to happen to you, because there's always the potential, even if you live in a very tornado-prone area, especially like Central Texas and Northern Texas, as we've been seeing the past few days. Very, very, very bad situation that's unfolding currently. I'm gonna take a look at Brad Arnold's live stream. Not really seeing much, but he just pulled over, and there you can see on his live stream around here there could be some there could be some lowering, especially in this area, but I'm not really sure. But very, very strong rotation here. Very strong rotation, very tight rotation. It's not as tight as we were seeing just a few seconds ago, but yeah, it's I was not expecting to see that much tight rotation when I clicked on the velocity radar. If we check back up on Gold's weight, you can just see that the warning was just extended a little bit. Oh, how did I miss that? Has that been there for a while? If it has, I feel really, really blind. I have been noticing the supercell out of the corner of my eye. I think this might be the supercell that either that I was thinking might be tornado born soon, which it now looks like it is. Let's look at what it's currently doing. Let's look at the velocity. Tight rotation, tight, strong rotation associated with the hook, and maybe even some tight rotation too. Two areas for very tight rotation. And as for correlation coefficient, there could be a small correlation coefficient on the most western rotation associated with this supercell. Very, very, very tight, very strong rotation along southwest of Ferry, moving south or moving east. Probably gonna move south of Ferry, but it looks like it could potentially go into Ferry too, which is a very populated area. This looks like it could potentially be a CC drop here. There could potentially be a tornado on the ground associated with this storm. It looks like this is the hook that we're looking at here. This right here. This is I think this might be the hook that we're looking at. Very tight, very strong rotation associated with this, with a potential CC drop right here to the west of Ferry, moving directly towards Ferry, in very, very tight, very strong rotation, moving directly towards Ferry. You have a very short amount of time if you. It looks like you're having a very short amount of time if you live in Ferry, based on how close the rotation is. If you live in Ferry, please get into the most interior room of your house on the lowest level. If you have a basement, go to the basement. If you have a storm cellar, go into the storm cellar. Stay away from any exits or windows to your house, as they could be blown in and cause debris to fly. And if you have a handheld radio, please take it with you so you can tune into the National Weather Service for any updates on this situation. And if you don't have one and you live in a tornado-prone area such as this, please buy one, because you do not want to be caught in a situation like this. As for the velocity on this, still very, very on the other storm. The storm that we've been seeing that went through Waco is now going between Mart and Rysel through populated areas again. Again, another very bad situation. Very tight rotation, very strong rotation. As for the correlation coefficient, I still don't see much of a correlation coefficient drop. But this is a very bad situation associated with this storm, and there could be a correlation coefficient drop soon as it continues to intensify. Should Arlington expect anything? Is that in Arlington, Texas? And I'm sorry if I got to that pretty late. I can check for you. I need to find where Arlington, Texas is, because I'm not sure where that is. Arlington City in Texas. Okay, by Fort Worth. Okay. If if we go to Arlington, Texas, east of Fort Worth, I don't really think you still have a tornado potential, isolated tornado potential, but it looks like all of this is moving southeast. It doesn't really look like most of it's going northeast, so you may be in the clear for any isolated tornado threat as all this moves east. All this is along a dry line moving eastward, southeastward. So you may get this rain. You may get this rain band here to the east, moving southeastward. But other than that, it doesn't look like there's much of a hail threat to the east of Fort Worth and Arlington. But after that passes, I'm expecting you not to get much of anything due to that, due to the boundary moving eastward, and there's pretty much nothing behind it. At least I can check. Yeah, there might be some spotty stuff through here, and the Texas Panhandle moving east, and this could continue southeastward. It's probably going to pass to the north though, but it really all depends. As for it, right now it looks like it's all pretty much stationary going eastward through Oklahoma. So I think that rain is all you're really going to get, and I don't think you're going to have that big of a hail or tornado threat. Alright, I'm having issues with Radar Omega. It's not good, especially with situations like this. The reflectivity doesn't want to work. Same with everything else. Nothing else wants to work. I may have to restart Radar Omega here. Give me a few seconds. Alright, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do because it doesn't look like the recording's gonna pause. Give me just a few minutes. I gotta figure out how to get this to restart. You know, I could probably switch tabs. This is only the second live stream. I don't. Hold on, just give me a moment. Okay, we can switch to. That doesn't want to work. I may have to restart this stream. This is really something. Hold on, I may be able to. Alright, we are back. So it turns out I am just a little crazy and I forgot to let me make sure it stays on Radar Omega. I forgot to I'm on this radar site. I am not on a radar site near any of the tornado warnings I should be covering, so oops-a-daisy. I feel a little stupid, but it's whatever. At least I figured it out. Okay, as for the tornado warning that's still in effect for the supercell that just passed through Waco, still very strong rotation, but it's not as tight as what we were seeing earlier, as well as the inflow looks to be tightening up and getting cut off by the hook. And potentially slowing it down and causing it to stop. It looks like it's starting to slow down on its rotation. It may start slowing down here. It looks like it's slowing down here. If we look at the supercell that's recently been warned, its hook kind of looks like it's more of a line instead of a hook anymore. It doesn't really look like it's much of a hook, but it's still tight rotation, still strong rotation. It's indicating strong and tight rotation, and maybe a small CC drop here. I'm probably not though. It could just be inflow. And still, there is a little. It does have a little bit of hook shape though, but that tornado warning was just prolonged. If we look at the one system that I can't really get a clear view of at all. Let's see if I can get a good view of it. It's which one is this one? It's putting me on this one. Okay. This actually has a much better view. You can see what looks like a hook here, but this could also be a anticyclonic hook around the back, but it could also be just blocking out the RT. I'm honestly not really sure what I'm looking at here. I'm a little lost in what I'm seeing. Let me look at velocities. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, where's our radar site? Radar site's down here. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I might have to come back to that because it doesn't really look like there's much rotation I can really see just by looking at it. But as for the hook, you still see it here on this on the supercell that just passed through Waco, as well as strong hail that's moving southeastward into Mart. Yeah, moving southeastward into Mart. Large hail moving southeastward into Mart. As for the hook here, it's moving through. It's threading the needle between Blackland and Mart. But this is still populated areas and not really what you want to like see a tornado passing through, especially with what we saw with Waco earlier. This is not really good situation. You can still see very strong rotation. Where are we? What radar site are we on? Let me make sure I'm on the best radar site that it wants to give me. That's not the one I want. Okay, if we look, okay, now's a good time to look at this supercell though, because it put us here. Still very tight and strong rotation. It's a little broad. It's not very tight, but it's a little broad, but it's still pretty strong. If we look at, if we go back to the Waco supercell, it's putting us in this one. Okay. Still very tight rotation. Very tight rotation in here. And it's still passing through populated areas. It's expected to continue. And by the time it gets it might even pass through Oto. here, and continue eastward, and maybe even hit Ben-Hur, and maybe even, thank you, or maybe even continue southeastward into Buffalo Mop, Little Elm, Pleasant Grove, and maybe even Big Hill. Those are all amazing names for a town, and but besides that, this tornado, I'm expecting it to move this direction, directly towards those cities. At least that's what it looks like it's appearing it's doing. We can how strong are the winds in this area? It's moving east at 25 miles per hour. We can mark it 25 miles per hour. Calculate Oto 13 minutes and Kuwait in 35 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. It's really going. It's sorry. It's really going. It's there's still very strong rotation, but because of the increased reflectivity on the hook here, I'm in with the increased reflectivity here, and the pretty like unclear inflow jet, in reflectivity being strong. It's whipping a lot of this strong rain and hail from the hail core south into the hook, causing it to be rain wrapped. This is potentially this is potentially a very rain wrapped tornado, if there is a tornado that's going to be developed with this. It looks like there's two rotations now. One here and one here, and they're both very tight. This one is much tighter than the other one, and is very strong. But this one is also still strong. The northern one is also strong, and it's continuing to move eastward. As for correlation coefficient, it's still no definite correlation coefficient drop, but this is a pretty bad situation. Very definite hook, potentially rain wrapped, plus the tight rotation, and now the hook looks like it's peeking back out from the supercell a little bit. It's no longer close up to it, it's no longer close up to it like this. It's more like this now, peeking out. Yeah, let's take a look at the other supercells here, the other tornado warning cells here. We got 3 tornado warnings so far. Let's look at this one here. This is probably what I'm looking at here for the hook. This looks like the rotation with the inflow jet here. This could also be maybe potentially rain wrapped because of the increased reflectivity on this. As for the rotation, still strong, still tight, and it doesn't look like it's slowed down at all for the past few minutes. That's been moving eastward. Could still potentially produce a tornado. Actually, let's look at correlation coefficient. As for correlation coefficient, still no definite correlation coefficient drop, but there may be something right there, but I kind of doubt it. That's the other system that we got. Let's look at this one. Still see, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna extend this. I think this one's going to expire in the next 2 minutes. I mean, this looks like potentially rotation, but then there's also rotation right here. If it's going to be extended, they should have. I feel like they should have extended it already to something like that, in the direction it's going, because it looks like there's 2 main rotations on this. It looks like what we were seeing yesterday with line segments, and earlier today with the first tornado warning, in the tornado warning that's on the thumbnail. It looks like strong inflow jets here pushing on here, and causing inflow notches here, and inflow notches here, and expected strong damaging winds on the outflow boundary, with this little N here, this little rainbow, this little arch here. Damaging winds on the far side, on the top side, and then also large hail on that hill core, and if we switch back over to this to the other supercell that we're been focusing on for a very long time now, on this supercell, it's still tight rotation, still pretty tight rotation here. Not actually, no, it's not looking as tight as it was earlier, but it's still pretty strong. If we look at the reflectivity, it looks like there's not really much of an inflow anymore, and the hook is kind of just an appendage now. It doesn't really look like much of a hook, and the velocity is also looking like it's starting to slow down a little bit too, and broaden out, and no longer be as tight, and potentially even slow down. For correlation coefficient, there's still not really much of there's still not a definite correlation coefficient drop. If you're wondering about all that weird low correlation coefficient over here, it's probably contamination. It's probably not due to hail or anything, but because there's not really much of anything over here, so it's probably just contamination. But yeah, that's what we're looking at. The tornado warning on that arch that we saw over here has expired, as expected. Let's go back over to the other tornado warning. We now have 2 tornado warnings left. This one, let's take a look at this one. You can still see a little bit of hook here, with a little bit of inflow notch. An RFD being blocked by precipitation, and it looks like an appendage. It doesn't really look like a definite hook, but there is a small hook through here, small hook right there, that could potentially bring a tornado potential, and then plus very, very tight. It's still tight, very strong, very tight rotation throughout here. Still potentially bringing a tornado potential. Still not a definite correlation coefficient drop yet. It kind of looks like it might be starting to straighten out a little bit, and not straighten out, but hook out a little bit more, and become like an actual hook. Let's look at the past radar. It kind of looks like it. I'm not really sure, actually. It kind of looked more like a hook in the earlier stages. But yeah, let's look at the hail potential for these systems here. If we look at the severe thunderstorm warning for this hail threat, especially right here and right here, heading into Huron, heading for the northern parts of Huron, and then also this going into Lakeside Village, and continuing through what could be some suburbs. That it's expecting the hail to be baseball sized and 65 miles per hour wind gusts. If we look at the velocity, I hate having to do speed conversions here, because I am an American and I don't really work with meters a second. I don't know why they are using meters a second on this, whenever the only European radars that you can actually access are in Germany. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I mean, we got a lot of Australian radars too, so I'm not too sure. I'm getting tired. As for this, what is the hail threat for this? Moving at 35 miles per hour. It's not really gonna be a hail threat, 'cause it's a tornado warning. As for this storm, as for this supercell, where they extended the tornado warning some more, it looks like it might be continuing to stay hooked, might be forming another hook, and then another intensifying inflow notch. It could be hooking back up again here, down through here, and then it's high reflectivity in this hail core, and then going down through the hook, likely to bring a very rain-wrapped tornado if it produces a tornado. And this is, if you live in Waco, this is not the first this is not the first round of severe weather for you today. We still have this boundary here, especially all of this above Whitney, Meridian, and Clifton, moving east and even southeast, especially this large area of hail here in the tornado warning, moving eastward, potentially bringing some hail to Waco again, some large hail to Waco again, and then I'm also expecting some some very strong gusts of wind along this boundary here, along with what looks like the hook here to be potentially more intense and more defined now. It looks like it's really starting to try to hook more again. The rotation is still tight and strong up through there. As for correlation coefficient, still no definite correlation coefficient drop yet, but still tight rotation and strong rotation, and also a hook that seems to be possibly becoming more defined. Okay, let's continue to focus on the supercell here. It looks like the hook is becoming more defined once again. Plus all the strong reflectivity being brought through here down into the hook, potentially bringing the potential for a very rain-wrapped tornado. Let's look at one of the live streams. Okay, they are not live. Let's see what Vince Walty is dealing with. He's passing through the most intense part of the hail core right now. It's still not like telling us how big the hail is expected to be. But if I had to guess, it's probably larger than baseball-sized hail. Probably even what's larger than baseball? I am not really sure. I mean, if I had to guess, it's probably softball, between baseball and softball sized hail. That is some, that looks like some pretty big hail. But it maybe softball is going a little bit too far. It could be baseball sized hail, but that hail core is really intense, and I don't have a definite say on how big the hail is. It could definitely be softball sized hail. It could be baseball sized hail. It could be in between. It could be a mixture of the two. This is a very intense hail core here. There's very large hail in that even though I don't know the exact size for it, there is the large hail associated with that. Let's look at this severe. Let's look at these two severe weather warnings, two severe thunderstorm warnings for down here. Strong reflectivity. Again, expected large hail is expected. Then also this gust front here. Strong gust front. I'm expecting strong, very strong winds on this boundary here. very strong straight line winds, very damaging straight line winds, and I really wish I could see how fast they were going. They're saying 60 miles per hour, but as for the size of the hail, it's golf. They're saying it's golf ball sized hail. Let's go back over here. I really wish I could see how big the hail was, but it's just a hail equals in. I'm not sure what that's supposed to indicate. I think it's supposed to have a size after that, hail in inches. Okay, so as for the hook, still very prominent hook. The hook is more prominent than we thought it was dying out earlier, but it's definitely not now. It's becoming more prominent in very strong rotation, very tight rotation still. Still a very high tornado threat expected with this. Let's look at this, the other tornado threat here. Still some, the rotation looks to be weakening and not as tight anymore, seems to be broadening out and slowing down and turning more into a gust front with this embedded system here. And the embedded tornado looks like it's no longer going to have much of a threat. In fact, this expires in 5 minutes, and me personally, I don't think they're going to prolong it. I think they're going to let it expire. But in this notch here is what looks like the embedded tornado threat is likely sitting at, but the rotation is decreasing. But along this boundary here, I'm expecting, along this strong boundary here, I'm expecting strong damaging winds here along this boundary. Along this boundary, strong damaging winds. Let's go back to the other supercell. Still a very definite hook here, still very definite, and very high reflectivity hook too. Still the potential for a rain-wrapped tornado. In fact, the fact that this potential for a rain-wrapped and dangerous tornado is moving through these populated areas, all these populated areas here are immediate danger for a the potential for a very rain-wrapped and dangerous tornado to move through them. If you live in any of these areas affected in this tornado warning and forward, especially through, I'm expecting something like this. That's. Let me zoom out. Actually, I can make it a little bit better. I'm expecting, actually, let me make sure I got the path going. Yeah, okay. I'm expecting a path like this, going this direction, or no, this direction. This, somewhere in here, that's, okay. Actually, I think the tornado is more likely to be at the very tip of the hook here, continuing this direction through Pleasant Grove. If you live in this area, in this line I just drew, that's where I'm expecting the bigger tornado threat to be. Activate your tornado safety plan. Move to the lowest floor of your house in the most interior room, such as a closet or a bathroom. If you have a basement, move into the basement. If you have a storm cellar, move into the storm cellar. If you have a handheld radio, which you definitely should if you live in these tornado-prone areas, please bring it with you into these areas, into wherever you're going to stay safe, because this is a dangerous situation. If this is a very rain-wrapped tornado moving through very populated areas. I've been talking so much, it's making my throat hurt. And then plus allergies, it's making my throat really tickle and hurt, so I've just been dealing with that. I may lose my voice by tomorrow. I've been talking so much. still and a more broad rotation in this area. This area more broad, but still pretty strong rotation. I'm gonna click one of the. I'm gonna see what Brad Pitt stream looks like, because he's right under it and maybe facing towards it, and we might be able to see a little bit of something. All right. Okay. We are not able to. We are not able to view his stream, but I give credit to. None of these streams are mine. I gotta clarify to hopefully not get copyright struck that none of these streams here, none of these streams by these storm chasers are mine, and I am merely going off them to see something from the ground to get a little bit of a confirmation. None of these streams are mine. None of these storm chaser streams are mine, and I give full credit to them. And I thank them for being able to actually be viewable on Radar Omega for stuff like that. But I'll continue to track this as it continues. The tornado threat for embedded tornado threat along that gust front has since diminished. Again, I'm expecting some the potential for some maybe ping pong ball sized hail or larger, or smaller probably. Probably ping pong ball or baseball sized hail. Okay, they're saying baseball sized hail. With it associated with this storm. Associated with this storm, though, they're saying the potential for ping pong ball sized hail at 60 miles per hour wind gusts. If you anywhere along this boundary and inside of this too, there are going to be very damaging winds and the potential for some large hail, ping pong ball to baseball sized. At minimum, probably coin sized. At maximum, probably softball sized. But softball size is probably unlikely. It's probably going to be at max a baseball size, but softball sized, just to be safe. There's tight rotation still, very strong, very tight rotation associated with this hook on this supercell that we've been tracking for a very long time now, since it was where was it earlier? It was somewhere over here. It was over here, and it's moved all the way down here now, so it's been tracking for a pretty long time. I'm gonna try to possibly get a estimated size on the the hail here. According to the warnings that are being posted by the weather alert spot on the Max Velocity Discord server, which I love and adore, and he has helped me really. He's really helped me inspire myself to really do what I'm doing now, and I thank him a lot for that. and I've supported him a lot through what he's doing. But on there, that bot is that bot has issued, or not issued, but based on the warnings that it's posting from I think that National Weather Service, it's indicating 2-inch sized hail, lime sized hail, with it associated with this supercell here. This supercell, lime sized hail, that is a large hail and damage to roofs, cars and windows is going to be very likely throughout through these areas here, through this area, continuing eastward through this populated area, which I hate to see because it's also going into Goosebeck with lime-sized hail. That's a not good situation at all. You do not want to be caught outside if you live in not Goosebeck, but Grosbeck. If you live in Grosbeck or Thornton, please move inside. If you live in Thornton, especially, the hook is it's on its way. It's going south. It's continuing south through Thornton. It's continuing south through Grove to Thornton. Thornton is a densely populated area, and it's moving directly towards Thornton. If you live in Thornton, please activate your tornado safety plan. Move to the lowest floor of your house, into the most interior room, away from windows, preferably a closet or a bathroom, away from windows or any exits to your house, as they could be blown open by the tornado as it moves towards your location. If you have a basement, move to the basement. If you have a storm cellar, move into your storm cellar. If you have a handheld radio, please take it with you to your hiding spot so you can tune into the National Weather Service for any updates on this system as it continues into your area. If you don't have a weather radio and you're in immediate effect of this area, please get one, because never say that you're never going to experience this, because we're watching it happen live. So it could happen to anyone, especially if you live in a tornado-prone area like this. If you look at the velocity, still very strong rotation, very strong rotation, pretty tight rotation up through here, and also looks like there's some rotation here. It looks like 2 areas for rotation. And very strong and tight rotation too. Here it looks like, and it looks like here too. Here and here, very strong areas of rotation. If you live in Goosebeck too, you are now being affected by very large hail. So limestone size. If you are outside, get indoors. You do not want to be caught outside, especially with limestone-sized hail. It could be potentially, it can lead to very bad injuries, and limestone-sized hail is potential. As all this moves over this densely populated area, it's expected to bring damaged roofs, damaged cars, and broken windshields, and potentially damaged windows too. Stay away from windows if you live in Goosebeck, or why do I keep calling it Goosebeck? Grosbeck. It just increased on reflectivity again. It's gotten bigger, still limestone sized, or maybe even bigger now. A very large hail moving to a very largely populated area, likely to damage roofs, cars, windows, and windshields, and you do not want to be caught outside with hail this large. Limestone size or bigger, potentially, maybe even grapefruit or softball sized hail. Now, grapefruit might be a stretch, but I'm not really sure. It's not letting me. It's not letting me get it's not telling me. It's not letting me get the size of hail, but it's saying 2 inches on the max velocity Discord server, and limestone size, or limestone, hailstone, limestone. you get the idea. Moving through a heavily populated area. Again, you do not want to be caught outside with something like this. But then you can also see the hook here is not as intense as what we're seeing earlier. It may not be as could possibly not be as potentially rain wrapped as what we were expecting earlier. As this continues eastward. But if you see you can see this gust front here. Still, with this gust front, a large hail along this boundary here. Then very strong winds as this moves eastward. Very damaging winds, very strong winds, plus large hail right behind it. Right in front of it. It's very damaging winds. There may be the potential for some spin up in notches, such as this in particular around Tyson. Why am I stuck right here? Tyson right here. Potential notch developing. Inflow hook right here. And RFD. Tornadoes can develop in places like this. If we look at the velocity, you can see that there is a little bit of rotation in that notch there. The potential for embedded tornadoes with this gust front is possible, especially in areas like Rock Springs here. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring back that tornado warning for this area, because this is these notches are no joke. Let's get an idea of the hail before it potentially becomes a tornado warning. Baseball sized and 65 miles per hour wind gusts. And as for this down here, large hail with this system along this boundary, and then large hail back over here. I'll switch to another radar so we can potentially see that more clearly. But as for this, let's see. We got 2-inch hail, lime-sized hail is what we were seeing over here too, and 60 miles per hour wind gusts. And yes, all this hail is still moving through this very largely populated area. Very, very large hail, very damaging hail as well. And also, very damaging, winds along the outflow boundary as this moves east. Yeah. Okay. How long have I been streaming for? I'm unsure. At least a couple hours. I think I started streaming when? Start streaming around, actually, I can get the exact time of when I started streaming. Give me a second. I started streaming, I started streaming at like 8:30, like 3 hours ago. That's crazy. But still, the hook is still very prominent here. Very prominent hook still. Very prominent hook. Very strong inflow. Very strong inflow. Very prominent hook. If there's going to be a tornado, it's going to be in that area right there that I just circled. And then in this velocity here, the rotation is tightening back up again. Very tight rotation. Very strong rotation too. Very, very tight. Very, very strong rotation. I'm surprised that this has gone on for so long. It's really long lasting. It's really going. It's really, really going. And again, I have a feeling that they maybe might give a tornado warning for a potential notch tornado in this area of the gust front here. The gust front here, right here. I wouldn't be surprised if they give a tornado warning here in a few minutes, possibly. But still, prominent hook, prominent inflow, and very large hail moving through very populated areas. All that moving east, very populated areas. But you can see on their live stream, it's very loud. I can't even hear myself when I'm watching their live stream. And, see very large hail. Brandon Kopic, or yeah, I think at least Brandon Kopic going through the hail core, very large hail. And Vincent Wallace looks like he's about to go through the hail core as well. Yeah, I'm getting tired. I've been streaming for a while. And this is still moving through populated areas. It's directly on top of Thornton. Again, if you live in Thornton, heavily densely populated areas, or anywhere in this area here, it's going southeast, southwest, or southeast, directly through here. If you're anywhere in here, take your tornado safety measures. Get to the lowest and most innermost room of your house. If you have a basement, go there. If you have a storm cellar, go into there. If you stay away from windows or any access to your house, and be sure if you have a handheld radio to take it with you wherever you're going for safety, so you can listen to the National Weather, so you can tune into the National Weather Service for any updates on this system. And if you don't have a weather radio that you can take with you, if you're prone to tornadoes, especially in areas like this, please buy one, because especially if you live in tornado-prone areas, it can happen to. Okay, I almost flipped my drink. It could happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone, and never say that it won't happen to you, because we're watching it live. We're watching it happen live. Still, this hook is like huge now. It's becoming really huge. It looks like just a big appendage now. And still inflow here, but you can still see the hook here. Still see the hook and inflow rotation here. Strong rotation, still very tight, still very strong rotation. What is that over there? This seems like the potential. This seems like another tornado potential right here. Inflow here. This seems like another tornado potential. If you look at the velocity, very tight rotation, but it also looks backwards, so it could also not be rotation. But then there's also this down here. There's so many areas that could be rotation, but it could also not be. But then there's also areas where it's just like it's just crazy. It's just going all over the place. Like up in here, the only place that you can really see definite rotation is right here. And that is still strong and very tight rotation. Well, it's strong, broad rotation. Strong, tight, broad-ish rotation. It's broad, tight rotation. It's not broad as in it's weak, but strong on the edges. But it's strong and tight in the center, but still large, is what I'm trying to get across. And this is still the only tornado warning, as for now. That's continuing eastward. As for correlation coefficient, there may be a little bit of something here in the very center here. This could be a correlation coefficient drop in the very center here. There could be a possible tornado on the ground in this, in the very center of this hook. This could be a possible correlation coefficient drop moving southeast, right here. Possible correlation coefficient drop. Let's tune into Brad's live stream, see if possibly we can see anything, if he's facing the direction towards the storm. Brad Arnold. Alright, let's see what direction he's going. We might be able to see what direction he's heading into. He could be heading away, so we may not be able to see what direction he's going. He looks like he's stopped, but you can see Scud Claws. You can see possible rotation.
We've seen many wall clouds. We've actually seen quite a few funnels. There just hasn't been quite enough to get this tornado, thankfully, all the way to the ground to be able to produce.
Yeah, because if this tornado gets down on the ground, then it's moving through heavily populated areas, and that's going to be a very bad situation. But as they said, they've seen wall clouds, and it looked like there was potentially a wall cloud, or those could also be scud clouds. But those scud clouds could also be rotating around a central point. But I couldn't really tell, honestly. But there's there's really like as he said, funnel clouds, and he's seen funnel clouds and quite a few wall clouds. Oh, what is this? Can I have velocity on one side and reflectivity on the other? I can. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So you can see strong rotation associated with the center here. If there's a mesocyclone, it's going to be in the very center here. I don't really like that view. I kind of feel like switching back and forth. You can still see it as it continues. Still pretty tight, still pretty strong in through here. As for correlation coefficient, it looks to be increasing in the center there. There could be a correlation coefficient drop in the very center of that storm there. I don't want this anymore. Okay, thank you. There could be a correlation coefficient drop in the very center of that here, very center. In fact, I may send this to the Max Velocity Discord server, to my friends over there, see what they possibly think about this. See if they can confirm if it is a correlation coefficient, correlation coefficient drop or not. Alright, okay. As I wait for a response, I'll make sure to let you guys know what the response is when I get one. But, yeah. A possible correlation coefficient drop there. I will be right back. Alright, I have returned. Okay, so still possible CC drop in the very center of that there, the very center of the hook. Could possibly be indicating that there might be a little bit of something on the ground. And this could be maybe a little bit of debris in the air, in the more intense reflectivity there, but I'm not entirely sure. But as for the CC, possible CC drop, it looks like it decreased there. It may not be a CC drop, and that could also not be debris in the air with that hook. As for the velocity, you can still see very tight rotation, very strong rotation on that hook, and that's just trucking along. It's just continuing to truck along, and all this hail is continuing through populated areas. Very large hail. If you live in any of these cities here, any of these cities along 164, you're inbound for very, very large hail, potentially lime sized or baseball sized, 1.5 to 2 inches. That's my estimation, based on the 2 inch mark that I've been given earlier. Um, yeah. You do not want to be caught outside with this. It's going to damage roofs. It's going to damage cars. It's going to possibly damage windshields, and maybe even break windows as this moves through populated areas. And if you live outside, if you live outside, if you're currently outside, with all this, there's the potential for there's a large potential for injury. Injury from large hailstones if you're outside right now. You do not want to be outside during this event, as this is continuing eastward. It's a very, very large hail. Let's tune back into the one of these storm chasers and see possibly what they see. Brandon Kopik. That's amazing connection there. As for the hook, it looks like the inflow kind of is gone now. It looks like the hook has kind of fizzled away. As for the rotation, it doesn't really appear to be that problem anymore. There's some tight, strong rotation here, but okay, never mind. With the new radar update, it's still pretty tight, still pretty strong. In that area, it is continuing eastward, but the main hook seems to have been dissipated. It may be forming another one to the east or to the west. It seems like there could be another hook potentially forming to the west with this, associated with this strong rotation here. If it does prolong the tornado warning, the potential could be if it prolongs the tornado warning because of the strong rotation and possible hook maybe developing around here. It has the possibility to be rain wrapped it has the possibility to be a very rain wrapped tornado. Strong reflectivity over there, very strong reflectivity, and just where the hook used to be, where it looks like it kind of just fizzled out now. Still very strong reflectivity. If there's going to be a tornado, it's likely to be rain wrapped. And then again, along this gust front to the east, which is on the doorstep of Waco now, very strong winds along this boundary line here, and followed by the potential for large hail right behind it. It's on the doorstep of Waco. It's on the doorstep of Waco, and I'll hopefully be able to continue that as it continues. As for the velocity, it doesn't really look like there's, it does look like there is a small amount of rotation on that small notch you saw there, that small notch here. These notches could be dangerous and could potentially develop stronger rotation and the potential for tornadoes. Especially, it's definitely possible for the threat of an embedded tornado with this, as the instability in the atmosphere is so large. It could definitely rock this apart and cause notches to form, especially in areas like this here. Could potentially be notches forming, and the potential for tornadoes to develop. Okay, and now this gust front is even more on Waco's doorstep. If you live anywhere along 35 in West or Waco, or anywhere around Waco in Haywood, Robinson Woodway, or Belmaid. Sorry, I feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit here. I've been talking so much about this non-stop. There's again, strong gust fronts expected along this boundary here. If you live in Waco, it's good to get inside right before this gets here. You're probably already inside from this, but I wouldn't have expected you to come back outside, especially with the boundary that's right behind here. This is the boundary that's continuing eastward, um, and very large hail, and damaging winds along this boundary too, especially in areas like this. Very strong damaging winds, very strong gust front here. You do not want to be caught outside with this again. Large hail expected in parts of this too, especially in areas like this and like this and like this with the enhanced reflectivity. Um, you do not want to be caught outside in areas like this. Uh, Hail could potentially be damaging to buildings and vehicles in Waco, and any vehicles along 35, as well as any damage to outside equipment, especially like restaurant equipment or umbrellas or anything that you would see like outside, because this is on Waco's doorstep. This is continuing eastward. This is very strong potential for very damaging winds and large hail as this passes through Waco, and expected to continue eastward, taking the same path as the supercell that we have been tracking here. I'm not sure about this anymore. I have a feeling that this might expire soon. Um, this tornado threat might expire soon. I don't really see much of a hook anymore. Sorry guys, allergies. But let me make sure I'm still unmuted on OBS. Yes, I am. Okay, there might be a little bit of a hook developing here with a little bit of an inflow notch, but still a very large hail core moving through very populated areas. Again, you do not want to be caught outside in this. Very damaging. Very damaging. It looks like a lot of the threat for damaging, or for, it seems like a lot of the tornado threat has kind of dissipated. Doesn't really look like there's much rotation left, but it does look like along the front, the very front of this supercell here, very strong damaging winds, very strong damaging winds going as it continues eastward. Still expected to have strong damaging winds with this, and the potential for large hail with that hail core that you saw. Very large hail core continuing eastward through populated areas. Expected for maybe from 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and again, this gust front is on Waco's doorstep. It's gonna be very damaging. Expect very damaging winds, and anything that's outside, like umbrellas or chairs, for like restaurants or anything, to potentially be blown around a little bit as it continues. But yeah, this is, yeah. Strong damaging winds, and then anything along this boundary here, expect maybe the potential for an embedded tornado threat with this, as well as we were seeing the potential for embedded tornadoes in notches on this boundary here. There could also be the potential for embedded tornadoes, more so along this boundary than this one here, because of the fact it's so disturbed. In places like this, you can see inflow and maybe a possible hook developing here too. Possible tornado threat on that system. And then maybe even the potential tornado threat developing on this system too, on this supercell in particular, because of the inflow and the hook developing. You can still, if we switch to velocity, you can see a strong, tight rotation on that. Very strong, very tight rotation. Potentially tornado warnable here in a few minutes. As for the correlation coefficient, let's see. There may be a correlation coefficient drop here, but it could also just be inflow. Yeah, it's probably more inflow than anything, but it could be a correlation coefficient drop. I would expect this For me personally, I would expect this to be warned here in a few minutes, this cell in particular. And then let's take a look at this cell. We might be able to get a better view of it somewhere else. No, it's pretty much in the exact same area as that one supercell as we were seeing earlier with that tornado threat, which may be this one, as it was back over here, and pretty hard to see. You see this little hook here that kind of looks like Massachusetts, the peninsula, Cape Cod. Maybe small rotation here. It's kind of hard to tell though. Um, maybe a potential tornado threat developing with this. I'm unsure. It looks like it, but I'm almost certain that there could be a potential tornado threat developing with this supercell in particular. And then strong damaging winds and large hail expected as this gust front continues into Waco. And okay, this tornado, this supercell here, it just doesn't want to stop rotating. It looks like there could be another hook forming on the to the south of the hail core, the really intense hail core. It could be another. You can see a little bit of inflow, a little bit of an inflow notch here, with a little bit of a hook forming here. Maybe some rotation in there. I can't really tell. It doesn't really look like it though. To me, I honestly think that it's probably going to expire the tornado threat. I don't think that there's going to be much of a tornado threat with that supercell in particular as it continues eastward. It seems pretty much all rotated out. I don't think it's going to develop another prominent hook like it has done earlier. Yeah. Oh, so I have been live streaming for 3 hours. I can see it. My math just sucks. Anyways, again, maybe another potential tornado threat developing on this supercell again, potentially in this area. I possibly don't think so because it doesn't really look like there's a lot of rotation on the velocity with that anymore. I would expect it to really die down here in a minute. I think this is probably going to expire. Let's take a look at the severe weather or severe thunderstorm. Severe thunderstorm warning. The hail core has really decreased. The size of the hail is probably also smaller too. As it's predicting quarter-size hail and 60 miles per hour winds gusts along this area here. Along this boundary, expect strong wind gusts pushing up against this. And okay, look at that. You can see maybe a possible hook developing with inflow here, an inflow notch there. As for the velocity, doesn't really look like it all that much, but yeah, it doesn't really look like there's rotation, so it probably isn't really, but yeah. Damage potential for hail with this, probably pea-sized hail at max. Maybe bigger, maybe penny-sized. From pea-sized to penny-sized probably, and in maybe in this area possibly in that area. Probably pea-sized, penny-sized, or maybe quarter-sized in here. Let's see what the severe thunderstorm threat has to say. Ping pong ball. Okay. Ping pong ball sized hail. It looks to be pretty much it has a more intense hail core here, opposed to here. But then it's saying that the hail threat, the size of the hail is smaller here, which I find interesting. As for the severe weather, severe thunderstorm that I was seeing earlier, that could potentially be tornado warned. Is there's they still it still has a rotation on it. It's still a little bit of a defined hook. It seems to be becoming reabsorbed in the storm, but it still looks like there is a little bit of a hook here. But in this hail core here, very very large hail is expected. Expected to expected tennis ball sized hail. And you do not want to be outside with what was that? That was interesting. I don't know what that was, but I swear I heard some sort of noise in front of me, either come from my computer or from outside my door. But it's whatever. Large hail core here. Large hail core there. Tennis ball size is what it's predicting. And then tennis ball size hail. You do not want to be outside with hail that is that large. This is also in a populated area too, continuing eastward. If you live in King, Slater, Pidcoke, or anywhere around 116, get inside, because you do not want to be outside with tennis ball sized hail. This is very large hail. If you're outside, pets or people outside will get injured with hail this big. This is very large hail. And cars, the windshields, roofs, and what am I trying to say here? And windows could be damaged or broken with hail this large. So you do not want to be outside with this threat. We got 3 minutes left on this tornado warning. I think it's going to expire. I don't think it's going to continue. But a strong gust front here. It's not really as prominent as it was earlier, but still expected to have strong damaging winds along this boundary line here. And then as all this continues this direction, at least I think that's the direction it's going. Alright, all of this is actually going this way, and this way, but it's mostly going this way overall. So as this continues eastward and northeastward, along this area here, it's expected to still bring large damaging wind gusts, and the potential for very large hail, and along this line too, more unstable than this gust front here. You see like hooks, like appendages, not really hooks, but appendages like forming out of the supercells that could potentially begin to start rotating because of how unstable the air is, and like overall how unorganized it is. I mean, it's pretty organized, but because of how unstable the air is, it's allowing for some small notches to develop, and rotation to develop. Especially, like, you can see a little bit of rotation developing here. That's a little bit far from the radar site, but it's not really in a good position to really be viewed all that well. Yeah. I'll continue to track this as this continues east. Yeah. Something that I haven't checked on but probably should would be the hail threat in Florida. I haven't really done much of that, but there's expected to be very, very large hail expected for Florida. See already severe thunderstorm warnings for Florida. Let's take a look at this radar. You can see this. There's probably large hail in here, and then maybe a small appendage forming at the back end of that. Oh. Okay. Long range velocity versus short range velocity. What type of radars are these? Okay, whatever, at least. At least I got it. See rotation developing here. You see some rotation developing along that weird appendage thing sticking out the back end of this. Seems like it could be trying to develop a more prominent hook as the strong rotation there. And this is in populated areas too, so that's not good at all. And the sad part is I probably won't really be covering it as much, but I feel like I have to, even though the stronger tornado threat is over in Texas. But if you live in, dude, I can't even see this. Actually, if I go to long range, okay, yeah, I don't get what's up with these radars. Okay, you can see large amounts of hail. Large amounts of hail is expected. 60 miles per hour wind gusts with half-dollar sized hail. Radar indicated. Very large hail. Very, very large isolated hail threat. Continuing eastward into very, very populated areas. If you live in anywhere of this area, expect strong gusts of winds as this continues, but then also large hail, very damaging hail too as that continues. And there's an airport down there too. The airport is most likely closed by now, but this is very populated areas about to be hit by very, very large hail. This is very damaging hail too. What is this? This is a sensor. Okay. Dew point, station pressure, sustained pressure. Interesting. Interesting. Now let's see if we can get a view of this right here. Alright, so we got this here too. I can't tell if this was the same severe weather. Yeah, this is the same storm I was looking at earlier. Potential tornado threat possibly developing for this, as it might start trying to form a hook here. Okay, never mind. There's a very, very weak rotation here. Very weak anticyclonic, it looks like, rotation. So there's probably not going to be a tornado threat developing with this. It's most likely just going to be a very, very large hail threat, and this is a very populated area. If you live in Lake Hamilton or Dundee, and as that continues southeastward, you saw it was more intense earlier before going to this populated areas. It's good that it's decreased, but still bad that this is very, very large hail. If you live in Waverly or Lake of the Hills, please get inside. This is on its way, and it's very large and potentially very damaging hail. Let's look at this. That just looks like some very strong hail threat that's just going off to the east. I guess just don't be in boats at this time if you're planning on going out on the water if you live in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. That's all I can really say to that. I mean, it's moving towards the Bahamas. I only cover the United States. Yeah, okay. There's another severe thunderstorm warning for Dripping Springs, alright. Maybe a possible hook trying to develop here with an inflow notch. As for the velocities, I'm not really seeing much rotation. I'm not seeing any rotation, really. Let's look at storm relative velocity. Yeah, I don't really see much rotation. It's probably not really rotating at all. It's probably just a large hail threat with large damaging wind gusts. As that continues northeast, this is continuing northeastward. It's making its way through very populated areas of Fitzhugh, Cedar Valley, and Bear Creek. If you live in any of these areas, please get inside. But it is moving out of the area, so you're probably experiencing it right now. But if you live in Spanish Oak, Rocky Creek, or Bee Cave, or anywhere around that, then you are in danger of very, very damaging hail, very large hail expected with the storm. See as that system is this system right here is kind of moving. Hold on, what happens if I click this? I think it just puts you on the best radar possible for it, but you can still see very, very, very large hail is expected for this hail core, plus damaging wind gusts along this boundary as that continues eastward and north. Very large hail, damaging hail too as well. If you live in Cherokee, it's right on your doorstep. If you live in, and then also potentially, it's moving east into what looks like rural areas after it passes past Cherokee. It's going to move through more rural areas instead. Yeah, it's gonna move through more rural areas. But if you live in Cherokee, get inside. This is very large, very damaging hail. Let's see what what it's predicting the size to be. It's saying quarter-sized hail. It could also be much smaller, but more intense on the reflectivity radar because it's much farther away from the radar. So it could be more intense without it really being as intense as what it's really showing on the radar because it's so far away from the radar site. This looks like it's still very, very large hail moving into Cherokee. This is very damaging hail, or not very damaging, but the potential to be damaging hail. Hail damage to vehicles expected. You saw that there. It's not really expected to do much. To like roofs, maybe small damage to roofs is possible, as well as the potential damage to vehicles. Wow, this has been a crazy live stream already. Okay. You probably already know what I'm gonna say. This looks like there might be a small hook starting to develop right here with this supercell here, and even though there doesn't really look like there's a whole lot of rotation, which there might actually be a little bit of rotation right here, but it's very, 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 very weak. It could be a tiny bit of rotation. It's not even on the hook, but it looks like there might be a small hook trying to develop right here. Even though there's a lack of strong rotation, it could definitely start to rotate. Yeah. But this gust front is now past Waco, going through everywhere else that supercell has just passed through. And I'm still expecting the potential for hail along this gust front and very damaging winds as this continues eastward into areas through this very populated area and into Groesbeck and anywhere in this area. All these tiny towns here expected for very damaging winds as it continues eastward. Yeah. Even though there's not really... The hail threat seems to have diminished. There's not really that much of a like severe weather. There's not a severe thunderstorm warning anymore. There could still possibly be the potential for maybe teeny tiny hail. It seemed like the large hail threat was back over here, but there's still a large hail threat possible for the supercell as it is moving through uh, through populated areas and into areas of southern Buffalo and just these like rural populated areas. I don't really know what to call them. It's like a between the boundary of rural and like suburbs. It's more like more countryside towns, but still, that's if you live in there, large hail passing through, very large hail, very potentially very damaging hail too. The possibility for for damage to vehicles and injury to people and pets if they're outside with this large hail moving eastward. Um, yeah, I suggest getting inside if you live in Jewett or Buffalo, but it seems like it's going to thread the needle between those two. But then we also have this down here that looks like it's starting to target Jewett a little bit. And I'll continue to track that as it continues eastward. But then you can also see still large hail over here. Large hail threat expected for this supercell along the line trailing behind on the boundary, continuing eastward, southeastward too. If yeah, it looks like it's about to start tracking through more rural areas throughout here. This hail looks like, yeah, this hail looks like in damaging winds looks like it's about to just start tracking through more rural areas than actual populated areas, which is good. It's for the hail threat that's down here. It's passing through Cherokee at this moment. If you live in Cherokee, get inside. Large large damaging hail threat, and the potential for small damage to roofs and damage to vehicles in Cherokee. And I will continue to track these systems as it continues eastward. Let's see if we can get an idea of how strong the gust front is, because they don't have a severe weather threat anymore, or severe thunderstorm warning anymore. So let's see how fast they're going. Say in some areas like 20 meters a second. I hate having to do conversions in my head between miles per hour and meters, because this is an American severe weather event, and I am American, so but earlier they were predicting 60 miles per hour wind gusts, which is most likely persisting. Yeah. Look at this weird view that I have for some reason. You can see, you can see like a 3D map based on the intensity of reflectivity. See really big hail peaks here. I don't really like that though. I like this view much better. Seems like the hail threat has kind of decreased here. Probably decreased down to the possibility for more. Thank you, thank you, alarm. Seems like the size of the hail threat has really decreased down to the possibility from no longer quarter-sized hail to possibly penny or pea-sized hail. It's definitely not as intense as it's used to be. Most likely just pea-sized and penny-sized by now for this supercell. Okay. Along this, I am probably not really going to continue to cover a lot of this system and this particular hail threat anymore because it's about to start. Oh, hold on, give me just okay. Down towards the south side of that, down towards the south side of that storm, it looks like it's about to move directly into. What is this? It looks like it's about to move into pretty populated areas, very densely populated areas. Actually, no, it looks like he's just going to miss to the north, but then continue south into an into a still really populated area. Like all this around here is super populated, densely populated, and it's moving. It's moving south towards it, but it's moving more eastward too. It's probably going to go at an angle like this. At least that's what I'm seeing. And then strike up everything along this, everything along the northern side of this, and potentially probably bring damage, hail damage to the northern side of some of that area down there. See that the hail threat has kind of increased a little bit back on that as their former supercell. With possibly back to quarter sized. I did not want to enable that. Possibly back to quarter sized hail again, or maybe even larger. This is tiring. Been streaming for a while. I just want to thank everyone that has tuned in so far. That one person that hasn't left yet for some reason. I want to thank everyone that has tuned in, even though they probably already left, except for that one person that's still here for some reason. Who knows? You could be the same person that wouldn't leave yesterday, but okay, look at this. Firstly, before I say anything, let me check the velocities. Okay, right here, looks like there's a potential for a not. It seems like it's maybe trying to increase or potentially try to develop rotation and the potential for a notch tornado around Fort Hood continuing southeast into this populated area. If this continues the way it is, it looks like possibly strong rotation. I'm not sure. That's very strong winds there though. Very strong winds. At least that's what it looks like there. It could also just be a strong gust front. But it could potentially start rotating. Probably not though, but these notches could become very dangerous. It doesn't really look like there's much rotation on velocity though. if you guys could hear that, that was not me. Alright, I'm gonna okay, so you see this, this area of slightly stronger and more intense reflectivity. This is an outflow boundary from along the front, and could potentially bring, it could potentially fuel storm development, stronger storm development along this outflow boundary here, along this strong area of reflectivity. As that continues, these, especially, you see this right here. This looks like this could start another storm development here, an isolated thunderstorm or rain shower in this. And then this looks like it could potentially form another line of severe weather. There may be a little bit of velocity or rotation developing on the notch I was talking about earlier. If you look at the reflectivity, you see inflow here and the potential for some rotation in here. A little notch embedded tornado possibly trying to develop here with some rotation right here. Pretty strong and looks pretty tight too. It's moving southeastward towards what could possibly be a very populated area if it continues in the direction that it is. If it continues the way continues developing the way that it is, it could move into a densely populated area. As for the correlation coefficient, I don't really see anything yet, but it does look like there might be a little bit of contamination there that may be able to be mistaken for a CC drop, because it's right underneath the hail core. I'll make sure to continue tracking this as it continues to develop. That's an interesting town name. Ding Dong. I'm not even kidding. Town right here named Ding Dong. Yeah, it could possibly be increasing in strength here too a little bit, but also it looks like the inflow is starting to get tightened, squeezed back together. It doesn't really look like it's gonna continue rotating for much longer, but it looks like there's still the potential for strong damaging winds along this front here, along this gust front, and then backed up by very large hail potential. And they're saying the potential for hail that is baseball sized, as well as 60 miles per hour wind gusts along the frontal boundary. Yeah, the inflow notch here seems to have been squeezed shut, and it looks like it's just going to be a strong straight line winds threat. Doesn't really look like the tornado threat is really going to persist with that one, as well as it being backed up by the potential for some very large hail as that moves southeast. It could miss it. It could continue moving east. It it might go southeast. It could be going southeast. It could just be continuing eastward. But you can see another outflow boundary developing. At least I think that's, I remember what it's being called. You see these isolated supercells um, uh, going up north and making contact with the boundary here, and that's fueling them a little bit more here to allow them to intensify. And then you can also see a slight one developing here too. But then you see a really intense one, a really uh, you see okay, I don't want to draw it anymore. You can still see a really intense one developing here too. But then this is also developing too, which could also trigger some storm development, an isolated thunderstorm development, and then another line of severe weather along this frontal boundary. And then this could continue northward and merge with the rest of the severe weather. These two isolated cells. Checking the velocity because it kind of looked like it had a little bit of a hook here with inflow, but there's no rotation. It's probably not really much. Yeah, it's probably not much. It's really starting to intensify though. These two systems are intensifying because of this outflow boundary here. They're sitting right on top of the outflow boundary, and they're feeding off of it to really intensify. As well as this outflow boundary continuing outward from the systems here, along this outflow boundary could also bring the potential for some damaging winds too, along with it. Even along this outflow boundary too, especially in this area in particular, and this area with the isolated supercells here, that or isolated thunderstorms that could possibly develop into supercells later on. Bringing the potential for some damaging winds along these outflow boundaries, and whatever this is, I don't know what this is. It's like a plume that just appeared. It's not like an outflow boundary, it just is there now. Let's check back in with Florida. Alright, okay. On the supercell that we were looking at that I thought might had a little bit of a hook, it definitely looks like it has a more intense and prominent hook now here with the inflow notch here. And it looks like on velocity, it looks like there is a little bit of a rotation here too. Could develop into a more of a tornado threat soon. I also see outflow boundaries, or what looks like it could be outflow boundaries along these supercells that are off the coast of Florida. They look like outflow boundaries. And they definitely could be outflow boundaries. As soon as they reach the coastline, they have some reflectivity going on with rain showers along it, probably being fueled by the outflow boundary to really cause some rain to start developing along the outflow boundary, just like we're seeing this outflow boundary intensify these supercells here, or these thunderstorms that could potentially develop into supercells. But it looks like they're probably going to merge with the rest of everything else. I have a feeling I'm not gonna feel like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm not gonna have a voice. Alright, I'm probably gonna end the stream here. I don't really think I'll be able to continue covering the severe weather for today. I'm extremely tired. I'm starting to develop a little bit of a migraine, and I feel like I'm losing my voice very slowly, and my throat is starting to hurt. So I'm probably gonna leave end the stream here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and if you want to continue listening to the severe weather coverage for today, I suggest you tune into um, other weather channels on YouTube, or anyone that could be chasing right now, like Ryan Hall, y'all, or or Storm Chaser Vincent Waliti, or whatever his last name is. Still can't pronounce it, but I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I feel like it's really been a much better live stream since yesterday. And I want to thank everyone that has supported me up to this point so far, and I will hopefully uh, be back tomorrow, depending on the severe weather threat, and possibly go live again. It all depends. Probably also be some days where I'll go live without really much of a severe weather threat, just to really hang out and stuff. Just talk about weather, and I guess before I have to go, I guess I'll cover a few more things. Just as a very end note, looks like strong gust front developing along here. That strong gust front that isn't developing, but has been going for the past few minutes now. Very strong winds along the boundary here, with some potential for some pea-sized or penny-sized hail, and maybe even bigger hail in the more northern part of the system, and then also the potential for some pea or penny-sized hail to the east of Temple, going into Temple. Yeah, because of these cells that have intensified because of the outflow boundary that has been pushed out of the main system here, and likely to merge and add mass to these two cells here, are likely to maybe even merge together. But if they don't merge together, then they're going to just merge with the rest of the system either way, and just add more mass to it, and potentially a little bit of rain development could thunderstorm or rain development could start occurring in this weird thing right here in this outflow boundary along the gust front, in as well as damaging winds possible along this gust front too, or outflow boundary, but damaging winds along this gust front and the potential for some hail. And that's all I really have to say for the final note before I end the stream. Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please check, please, I think I have the socials for Project Gladiator in the description. Yes, I do. Please check the socials for Project Gladiator, and I will be back with another forecast tomorrow, and hopefully, maybe, not hopefully, it depends. It all depends. I don't know if I want to go live again tomorrow. It all depends, honestly. Could go live again tomorrow, could not. It depends on the severe weather threat. Uh, I guess see ya.